Well, welcome everyone to Stress Control. I'm Jim White. I am a clinical psychologist and I'm delighted to be back in Clydebank. I spent 10 very happy years in the Black Suite up in Clydebank Health Centre many years ago. Now, what we're going to do is look at 6 sessions of stress management. And today is all about information. It's about learning how it works. Now, it's very informal. We will be doing this for 90 minutes. So I'll probably be talking for about 45 minutes. We'll then have a break for 10 minutes. We'll be really strict with this to make sure we get through everything. And we will finish off probably about 25 to 9 now, because there's been just a slight delay. You've all picked up your packs. We do want you to read over those packs in the coming week, and they will tell you all about what the course is about. There's some kind of homework tasks in there that we would ask you to work on as well. So these are the 6 sessions, and tonight, as I say, is mainly about information, and the information acts as the kind of basis, it acts as the foundation for the rest of this course. Why should you learn how to control stress? Because I don't have to tell any of you, it is horrible. It is utterly horrible thing to have. Stress makes everything worse, right? So it makes your physical health worse. It makes your sense of well-being worse. And if you learn how to control your stress, you reverse all of that. It makes everything better. It actually can help your physical health. It will boost your sense of well-being as well. It's really important. So what we're going to do is we'll explain what stress control is. We will mainly look at what stress is and how I'm defining stress. After the break, we will look at the first step really in controlling this, and that's called stress control in 9 words. So let's look at the information first of all. So what is stress control? 6-session class. As you can see, this is not a group. I will at no point ask anyone to tell us about the problems. This is an absolutely straightforward class. I devised this 34 years ago. As you'll appreciate, I was only 7 years old at the time. I was a really bright kid. And we did a lot of research on this because this was seen as a very unusual way to tackle problems like anxiety and depression. So we've did lots of research, there's been books written, and we know exactly what happens. And what we know is it's used across the world, but it also seems to work as well, at least as well, as individual therapy. And the research suggesting that the benefits of stress control last longer than individual therapy as well. So we've got a strong evidence base. There's lots of research about this. So no discussion of personal problems on this class. And what you're doing is you're learning skills, a whole range of skills that initially you won't see the connection, but as the course wears on, you should start to feel things coming together and see how we'll use a jigsaw idea, which you'll see later on. So it's part of the jigsaw, and this is the jigsaw. The first part is the information. The second part next week is controlling your body. Now, the reason we do that is because it's the most obvious way that stress affects us. If I were to ask anyone in this class, what happens to your body when you get stressed, you would just rhyme it off like that. So we start off with the most obvious thing. And then in session 3, we look at controlling your thoughts. And we'll look at what's called building the foundation. We'll look at the big 5 challenges. And we'll look at a deceptively simple task called breaking stress up. But if you get that one right, it can be a real game changer. And then in session 4, controlling your actions. And we'll be looking at skills like face your fears. We'll look at problem solving, one of my favorite skills. But we'll also look at something called stepping out your comfort zone. And I think that will be something that you maybe haven't thought of before, but which once you understand that, and once you understand what's going on there and change your behavior, again, that can be a huge game changer. And then in session 5, it divides into 2. We look at controlling panicky feelings. So some of you will be having full-blown panic attacks, which of course are hideous things, but just about everyone who has any type of stress will have panicky feelings. We'll be looking at how to control those, looking at a lot of controlling your body skills there. And then in the second part, we will look at getting a decent night's sleep. And the importance of that is it ties into the well-being stuff. So if you're not sleeping well, you're not recharging your batteries. If you're not recharging your batteries, you're more prone to stress the next day, and your well-being really crumbles. And if your stress is bad during the day, you're less likely to sleep that night. So you get into a vicious circle. And then we'll look at the well-being. And we'll look at ways of boosting that. We'll look at what's called the 5 a day. We'll look at mindfulness, which some of you may have heard of, but we'll also look at things like gratitude and compassion. And then in the final session, we'll look at controlling your future. And we'll put it all together. We'll try to make sense of it. We'll make sure that this big picture is emerging from your jigsaw. And we'll also look at values. And that kind of harkens back to the well-being stuff. And then what's the most important part of a jigsaw? What's the bit that holds everything together? Well, it's you, right? And the cliche we use on the course is that we aim to turn you into your own therapist. You probably feel just now that your stress is out of control and you don't know what to do. And what we say on stress control is once you have the right information and once you have the right skills, that starts to change. And your sense of control comes back, and your sense of confidence and self-esteem starts to build up. And so that it is a cliche, becoming your own therapist, but we really believe in that. So that's the most important part of that jigsaw. So important that you come to each session so that you get every bit of the jigsaw. Important that you decide what your own goals are on this course. So only you can decide that. If you're going to be your own therapist, that's your task. And some of the homework tasks in the booklets that you've got today will help you do that. You'll get booklets in every session from now on. Really important to read through the booklets before the session. So you'll see that you've got next week's booklet in your pack. Now, the reason for that is, of course, when you have stress, your concentration is awful, right? So you'll be watching something on the television. After 10 minutes, you just turn it off because you've just lost the story already. When you come to the stress control classes, hopefully you'll pick up a lot of information, but you'll also forget a lot of that information. And the booklets are there as a kind of belt and braces approach. And when you have the two together, then that can be really helpful. So it's all to do with working hard. This is what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. And CBT is absolutely based on, picking up as much as you can in the session, but then going away and trying out the new skills that you're learning and keep on working. Because what we know from the research is, if we give people questionnaires before and after, we see change from session 1 to session 6. But if we give them out the same questionnaires at 6 months or 1 year or 2 years after the course, what we tend to see is continued improvement. And that's because you're becoming your own therapist at that point. So the hard work goes on for quite a while.